Imagine two worlds, so different yet so similar. This is the tale of a king and a beggar, an unexpected story of two different worlds and the wealth they bear. Our tale begins with two protagonists, as different as night and day. In one corner, we have a king, draped in gold and silk, his every whim catered to. He resides in a grand palace where opulence drips from every corner. In the other corner, we find a beggar. He lives life on the fringes, surviving on the kindness of strangers, his home under a starlit sky. His riches are not material, but lie in his stories, experiences, and the wisdom he imparts. Look closely, though, and you might find that these two characters, despite their starkly contrasting lives, bear an uncanny resemblance. There's a thread of similarity, an underlying connection that binds them. But what could it be? As we delve deeper, prepare to uncover the spine-chilling truth hidden beneath their seemingly different lives. In a world of opulence and grandeur lived a king, the epitome of power and wealth. This king's world was a spectacle of riches beyond measure. His palace, a masterpiece of architectural splendor, was adorned with precious gems and gold. Every corner echoed the whispers of affluence, every room radiating an aura of sheer magnificence. His kingdom was vast, stretching as far as the eyes could see, filled with bountiful fields and bustling markets. The king commanded the respect and loyalty of his subjects, his voice a powerful decree that could alter the course of his realm. The king wielded his scepter with an iron grip, his rule unchallenged and absolute. His treasury overflowed with gold and silver, precious stones that glittered in the torchlight. The king was a connoisseur of fine art, his collection filled with masterpieces from great artists of his time. He was a patron of culture and music, his court brimming with poets and musicians, their melodies and verses adding to the grandeur of his court. The king's table was a feast for the senses, laden with delicacies and fine wines from all corners of his kingdom. His attire was made of the finest silk, embroidered with gold threads, his crown studded with the rarest of gems. The king's life was a testament to worldly wealth and power, a spectacle of opulence that left many in awe. But the king's world was not just about material riches. He was a learned man, well-versed in the scriptures and the sciences. His wisdom was as vast as his kingdom, his counsel sought by many. His word was law, his judgment fair and just. Yet despite all this wealth and power, the king was not entirely content. He had everything a man could dream of, yet something was missing. An emptiness lingered in his heart, a void that his riches could not fill. Yet beneath the golden crown, the king harbored a secret. His story was a reminder that true wealth is not just about material possessions, but something deeper, something more profound. In stark contrast, in a world stripped of materialistic pleasures, lived a beggar, the embodiment of poverty. This is a tale of a man who was not born with a silver spoon in his mouth, but rather into the arms of struggle and hardship. His life was a testament to the harsh reality of survival, a constant battle against the biting cold of winter nights and the scorching heat of summer days. His world was not adorned with gilded walls or silk drapes, but was a small, worn-out corner of a bustling street where he sought refuge. It was a world where the ground served as his bed, the sky his roof, and the hand-me-downs of strangers his wardrobe. His meals were unpredictable, often dependent on the kindness of passers-by. Each day was a gamble, a question mark on the calendar of life. Yet, in this beggar's world, there was an undeniable sense of resilience. His existence was not defined by the lack of material possessions, but by his ability to endure, to persist, and to find joy in the simplest of things. There were no lavish feasts, but the occasional warm meal filled his heart with gratitude. There were no grand celebrations, but the changing of seasons brought him a sense of wonder and contentment. He was not surrounded by courtiers singing praises, but by fellow beings who shared stories of survival, of dreams, and of hope. His world was not filled with gold and jewels, but with the wealth of shared experiences, of laughter amidst tears, of companionship in solitude, and of love in the face of adversity. This was the beggar's world, a world devoid of material wealth, yet rich in spirit, and alive with the hum of human resilience. His life was a testament to the strength of the human spirit, to the ability to find beauty in the most unlikely places, and to the power of gratitude and hope. But amidst his poverty, the beggar held a treasure. And this treasure was not of gold or diamonds, but of something far more valuable, something that shone brighter than any jewel, something that truly defined the richness of his world. In their respective worlds, both the king and the beggar were rich, but not in the way you'd think. Let's delve into this curious paradox. The king, surrounded by opulence and luxury, had every material possession one could dream of. He lived in a grand palace, adorned with precious gems and gold. His coffers were filled to the brim, a testament to his earthly wealth. Yet, despite his riches, the king was spiritually empty, a void no amount of wealth could fill. He was like a traveler in the desert, thirsty for water but surrounded by sand. His heart yearned for something more, something beyond the physical realm. He was constantly searching for a sense of fulfillment that his riches could not provide. Now, let's turn our gaze to the beggar. His pockets were empty, his clothes tattered, his belly often hungry. By worldly standards, he was poor. But what he lacked in material wealth, he made up for in spiritual richness. Unlike the king, the beggar was a wellspring of spiritual wealth. He found joy in the simplest of things, the warmth of the sun, the song of the birds, the kindness of strangers. His heart was filled with gratitude and contentment, even in the face of adversity. He was rich in ways the king could only dream of. An old saying goes, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." And this couldn't be more true for our king and beggar. The king, despite his endless wealth, was impoverished in his soul. The beggar, despite his worldly poverty, was rich in spirit. Let's take a moment to reflect on this irony. Our king, with all his material riches, was spiritually bankrupt. He yearned for the peace, joy, and contentment that the beggar possessed. He yearned for the beggar's spiritual wealth. The king, with all his material wealth, yearned for the beggar's spiritual wealth. Their story brings us to an unexpected lesson. Here we are, at the heart of our tale. The king and the beggar, two souls living in contrasting worlds, yet bound by a shared truth. A truth that transcends the glitter of gold and the grumble of an empty stomach. As the ancient philosopher Lao Tzu said, "He who knows he has enough is rich." But what is enough? Is it a palace filled with treasures? Or is it the peace found in a simple meal? The king, in his grandeur, and the beggar, in his simplicity, both found their enough. Their riches, not in material possessions, but in the depths of their spirits. This is not a new revelation. Many great minds have echoed this sentiment. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Earth provides enough to satisfy every man's needs, but not every man's greed." The king's wealth was vast, yet his spirit yearned for the peace the beggar found under the open sky, with a heart filled with gratitude and a soul at peace. Rumi, the mystic poet, wrote, "The only lasting beauty is the beauty of the heart." The beggar, though poor in possessions, was rich in heart. He found beauty not in the glittering gems, but in the twinkling stars, the smiling sun, and the singing birds. His heart was his palace, his spirit, his treasure. The Dalai Lama reminds us, the ultimate source of happiness is not money and power, but warm-heartedness. The beggar and the king both found their happiness, their true wealth, not in the gold coins or the power of a crown, but in the warmth of their hearts, in the kindness they extended and the love they shared. This, my friends, is the lesson of our tale. True wealth is not found in material possessions, but in the richness of our spirits, in the warmth of our hearts, the beauty of our souls, and the love we share. The king and the beggar, two different worlds yet bearing the same richness. Our tale comes to an end, but the lesson it imparts is timeless. The king and the beggar, two worlds apart yet bound by a common truth, have taught us an invaluable lesson today. The king, with all his worldly possessions, lived in a golden cage of dissatisfaction, while the beggar, devoid of material wealth, found riches in his spiritual bounty. This is a reminder to us all that true wealth cannot be quantified by the coins in our pocket or the size of our mansion. It lies in the depth of our contentment, the richness of our spirit, and our ability to find joy in the simplest of things. It's a journey inward, an exploration of our inner universe, that brings us closer to understanding the true meaning of wealth. Remember, wealth is not measured by what we possess, but by what possesses us. True richness lies within. If you have found value in this video, support us by subscribing and liking. Let's continue our journey together.